Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Just Saying Football with Jack and Sean. I'm your host, Sean Ginn, alongside my partner, Jack McNicholas. We're here to bring you news, notes, weekly updates, and game analysis of your favorite teams from around the league. If you don't have the chance, go check out our website at justsayingfootball.com and follow us on Instagram at Just Saying No GWJS for article and video updates. Week 10 continues Sunday at 1 o'clock, my friend. A little bit of an AFC East showdown when the Buffalo Bills head over to New York to take on the Jets. Now, the Bills had a surprise loss last week against the Jacksonville Jaguars. How do they respond this week against the Jets?
I mean, they have to do something against the Jets this week. We definitely saw a big hiccup in their season, and the Bills were definitely able to get exposed by Jacksonville last week. Now they're going to New York. I'm kind of interested to see how they're going to, this is the first time that they're going to meet the Jets right now. And the Jets, have been struggling lately. They got a win with Mike White, who should be playing this game this week. But, that really only bodes well for Michael Carter, in my opinion. I think that this Jets defense still has a lot to figure out. They're allowing over 32 points a game right now, the worst in the NFL. So, the Bills definitely have a chance to get it right this week.
No, absolutely. I'm definitely going to go with the Bills. We saw the tale of two Jets teams last 2 weeks, beating the Bengals in a intense matchup, going down to the wire, and then just not even showing up for their Thursday night football matchup against the Colts. This Bills team is going to be looking for some revenge. I will say this, Josh Allen doesn't play the best at times against the Bills in his career, but they do always seem to edge out wins, even if they're not pretty. And at this point, you want to get that win. You're 5-3. Got the Patriots at 5-4, who all of a sudden are right back into this division after a surprise loss to the Jags. Get a division win up against the Jets on an away game. Just take care of business. I think that's what the Buffalo Bills are all about this weekend.
Yeah, I totally agree. And what about this next one? You're talking about New England, a guy who used to play there, Tom Brady, coming off the bye, the Tampa Bay Bucks going to Washington. We saw this as a playoff matchup last year, the debut of Taylor Heineke. How are you feeling about the Bucks coming off the bye for them?
I like it, dude. I like Tampa Bay in this matchup. I'm going to go with them right off the bat. Washington's giving up the fourth most points right now, currently this season at 28.4. And the Patriots, oh my God, so used to Tom Brady and the Patriots. The Buccaneers right now are a top 5 scoring offense, and they're top 5 in almost every category but the rush. So I don't see them slowing down. This was a really fun playoff matchup last year. Absolutely. But the way that this Washington defense has been all year is not what you or I were expecting, or so many fans of Washington, and I'm sure what even their coaching staff and franchise were expecting out of them. They took a big step back this year, and I don't see enough changes being made right now for them to keep up with the weapons that the Buccaneers have. That being said, Chris Godwin, foot injury, might not play this weekend, so that will be helpful for them. But I still expect a heavy workload for Mike Evans. Leonard Fournette will see the ball a lot. Look out for OJ Howard and Rob Gronkowski.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's going to be tough for Washington right now, 2-6, playing the 6-2 Tampa Bay Bucks right now. Tom Brady's looking good off a bye. He's always very effective. Like you said, the limitations for the Bucks definitely going to be, Chris Godwin could be limited, but that could open up a little bit more for Scotty Miller, who you saw last year. And as you mentioned, their tight ends, this could be, they still have so many weapons, really hard to bet against them. And, the real thing about Washington is their running backs, J.D. McKissick, Antonio Gibson, and not a good matchup against the Bucks, who, right now are only allowing 78 yards on the ground, which is the second best in the league. So I'm agreeing with you. I'm going with Tampa on this one as well.
Yeah, and again, even though the Bucks, their passing defense hasn't been amazing, I don't know if Curtis Samuel and Terry McLaurin and Tyler Heineke are going to be enough necessarily to put up a ton of points to beat the high octane offense that the Buccaneers have. But moving on, Atlanta Falcons going to Dallas to take on the Cowboys. Now, week 9 was full of surprise losses. Another one was the Cowboys against the Broncos last weekend. It was 30-0 at one point during the fourth quarter. The ending score looked way more like a game than it really was. What are your thoughts on this one for the Cowboys and the Falcons?
Yeah, I mean, this is an interesting one. What we saw last year in this game, when these two teams faced off, it was right before Dak Prescott was injured. And, this game wound up, being a 40-39 game. Dallas had a huge comeback. And this year it's going to be a little different for me. I don't think Atlanta is that much is that much of a threat truly. I think that, Dallas has, a lot of potential in this week against Atlanta's defense. With Atlanta's defense right now, pretty, 13th right now against the pass and, 24th against the run could be a huge game for Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard. Honestly, the way that Atlanta's offense has been playing a little bit, it kind of has been keeping them out of games, and Dallas has been a little bit too perfect for me over the last couple of weeks to bet against them. So I'm going to go with Dallas at home in this one.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I think the last 2 weeks for Zeke against the Vikings and then the Broncos, those 2 hiccup games, not a lot of yards, stuff like that. I think this is a get right game for him, like you're saying. I also think you have to take the Cowboys game with a slight grain of salt. It's
Definitely.
not very often, like, you know what I mean? A lot of teams, week 9 was a weird week for a lot of teams. You saw top tier teams losing surprise games. The Saints lost to the Falcons. The Cowboys lost to the Broncos. We just were talking about how the Bills lost to the Jaguars. So this does happen in the NFL. It's unusual.
Any given Sunday.
Any given Sunday. But you got to say, what did we do right? What did we do wrong? And now let's fix it and let's get it right for this game, because Cordell Patterson's coming in, who's been playing great this season. Matt Ryan looks pretty comfortable, even though there's no Julio, no Ridley out there, and Ridley won't be in for this game as well. So expect a lot of Kyle Pitts. But I just think that the Cowboys get it right again this week. And, they just have so many weapons. It's, again, another offense that's really hard to keep up with. But moving on, the New Orleans Saints heading to Tennessee to take on the Titans. Should be a good matchup. A big defensive back and wide receiver matchup. Both of them need to step up kind of big. Last week was a surprise for the Saints defensive backs giving up so many yards. Cordell Patterson, like I just mentioned. And then on the flip, you have the wide receivers, AJ Brown and Julio Jones. They're trying to fill that Derrick Henry void.
Yeah, definitely. And, I was happy that we got to see a little bit of Adrian Peterson last week. Jeremy McNichols was a little underwhelming, but, he is finally getting into that role right now, I'm sure, as, a third down back for this team. But you got to give it to the Titans. What they've been able to do so far this year, I have to say, I was a doubter in the beginning. I know that right now, without Henry, it's going to look different, but they really did step up last week, in prime time, right on Monday and on Sunday night. And, they were really able to, get it done. I love, like you mentioned, the amount of, weapons they have, the way Tannehill has been able to play. It's been excellent. But, with this defense for the Titans, it does, even for New Orleans, I guess this is an incredible defensive matchup between these teams, but what Tennessee did last week and what they've been able to do the last couple of weeks against some of the toughest teams in the league, they've played, the Bills, Kansas City, the Colts, and the Rams, and they've gotten wins against all of them. And that's very impressive for them to do that to me, in my opinion. Right now they have the 8th best rushing defense, and I think that it's going to be tough because New Orleans kind of runs all of their offense through their running offense,
Yeah, I expect a lot of Mark Ingram. Alvin Kamara seems to have been a little bit banged up from last week. Just keep monitoring that for your fantasy team. And also if you're a big Saints fan, obviously you don't want I think it's the best player on your roster to miss any time. You want him there for every snap like he has been. But this Titans team last week was definitely weird. Again, another team that lost that was surprising was the Rams. Jeffrey Simmons, 3 sacks in that opening first half.
What a comeback he's had, in his career.
Yeah.
From injury in college to this. He's been awesome.
If you don't know his name, you should now. He's been one of the best defensive tackles out there. I will say this, so the game that Tennessee won against the Rams, that was a surprise. I mean, the Rams just didn't look like the Rams at all. It's hard. And you're absolutely right. The Titans have they've had a tough schedule and they've won some really big games against some really good teams. And I'm not trying to take all of that away from them, but I do think that last week was a little bit of just like one of those like weird surprise.
Yeah.
Games.
Matthew Stafford's not making that crazy tornado throw for a pick six every week,
exactly. And it's going right into the fender who's only 8 yards away from the end zone. Like there were some things in that game that you're just like, this is so unusual and very uncharacteristic of the Rams. So I am, again, similar with the Cowboys game against Broncos, taking this game with a grain of salt. I'm going to go with the Saints. They got a surprise loss, so they were up by so many points to the Falcons. And they're not going to let it happen again. I think this Jeffrey Simmons, Cameron Jordan defensive matchup is one to definitely monitor. But I'll stick with the Saints and what they can do. It looks like Trevor Siemian is able to move that offense along pretty well. And they, big trust. Let's go, Mark Ingram.
Yeah, I like that. I'm actually going to go with the Titans on this one. I like what I saw out of Adrian Peterson last week. I think that they're going to be able to, kind of keep that power running game on the goal line going a lot. I think he's going to get a lot more fresh. But what I love about Tennessee, honestly, is that they're so well coached. Mike Vrabel keeps them in these situations, in these tight games, and wins it for them. So, I'm loving what the defense is doing. They're saying right now, Derrick Henry's gone. I got to step up. Kevin Byard is somebody I'm looking at. Definitely a defensive player of the year guy for right now as a nominee. He's been excellent. He had a great week last week. But I think the Titans are gonna, roll with this win streak right now through New Orleans. So I'm going with them.
All right, I like it. Moving on. We have the Jacksonville Jaguars going to Indianapolis to take on the Colts in AFC South showdown. Like I mentioned earlier, the Jaguars got a huge win last weekend. Not pretty.
Not a high scoring one.
No, 9-6, but they got the win over the Bills. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, man, Jonathan Taylor last week, just, with Derrick Henry now out, you're looking at Jonathan Taylor as the second highest, rusher in the league when it comes to yards. And what they were able to do last week against the Jets was just, unworldly. It was a huge game that the Jets had to, come back in, but he had a 78-yard touchdown, 21-yard touchdown. Nyheim Hines was having, the night of his life. Michael Pittman was going off, but Jonathan Taylor really did show last week that, he is trying to be one of the premier running backs of this year. And I'm loving this matchup for him, especially Michael Pittman and Carson Wentz. I think Jacksonville, they had to step up last week, but I think this is a tougher matchup this week for them. I mean, they know Indy, but it's still tough for me.
I'm definitely going with the Colts. I just think, the Bills should have won last week. Again, Bills will move on from that game, but still definitely one of the best teams in the NFL, one of the best teams in the AFC for sure. I think the Colts know what's at stake here, like we've been talking about for weeks. No Derrick Henry. AFC South becomes a little bit more wide open for them. They didn't start off hot. You still want to get your playoff bid like you did last year. Those Jaguars teams, and like you just mentioned, you got this great running back in Jonathan Taylor. Carson Wentz has been operating the offense pretty well. Yeah. Michael Pittman has really stepped up for T.Y. Hilton in his absence, and I just think that they are a much better team, coached down compared to the Jaguars right now. And for those reasons, I gotta stick with them.
Yeah, I'm going with the Colts on this. Like I said, it's a weird thing because the Colts give you a reason sometimes to doubt them due to what they're playing this year. But then you see a week like last week where they're clicking, they're coming off the long week. Hard to bet against them. So I'm straight and simple. I'll go with them as well.
I love it. Moving on, we have the Detroit Lions heading out to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. This is gonna be a grudge match, dude. The Steelers are. They are not the Steelers that they were 5 years ago. That's for sure. Big Ben is not the Big Ben of old, but this defense is fucking good.
Yeah,
that's
they're good. They were making huge plays last week, and they are allowing the eighth best when it comes to points allowed, only allowing 21.1, and they're not even scoring that much on offense. It's an incredible thing that they've been able to do. If you look at their stats, they're 15th in both running and pass defense, but it doesn't show the fact that this team is absolutely, ready to go, because they're going to be a hard rush defense. Offense with Najee Harris, and they're going to hit you in the mouth on defense. They're at home this week against an 0-8 team. They just beat the crap out of Justin Fields as a rookie. He had a couple good throws in that game, but it's going to be on these tight ends. They got Eric Ebron back. Pat Freiermuth may not be as involved as his 2 touchdowns last week, but they are going to be able to move the ball. No Claypool. I think this is going to be a heavy Najee Harris.
This is going to be the Najee Harris and DeAndre Swift game. It is going to be ugly. It is not going to be high scoring. We all know that Dan Campbell, the 4-shot espresso man and the 2 venti Starbucks cup of coffee guy, is going to be just pushing this defense nonstop. Mike Tomlin is going to be getting the hit, pushing his defense nonstop. Just going to be a good old fashioned, run the football in the grass in Pittsburgh kind of day. Yeah. And I'm all for it. It's going to be just some old smash mouth football. That's what I think it's going to be attacking each other's kneecaps. But at the end of the day, I'm sticking with the Steelers. I think that defense is great. And yeah, Big Ben doesn't have the it in his arm that he once did, but his quarterback IQ is off the charts. It's way better than Jared Goff's for sure. When push comes to shove, when the play needs to get made, he's going to make the right play. And that was evident last week against the Bears when he needed to drive them down the field and get a field goal there to win the game. And boom, that's what he does best. And so while I think this is going to be a grudge match and this is going to be a sledge fest, there's going to be a lot of running and a lot of ugly plays, Steelers are still going to come out on top.
Yeah, it's interesting to me. I mean, Big Ben just hasn't been able to get it right, but Jared Goff only 8 passing touchdowns in the last 8 weeks. Deontay Johnson having a great season. The Lions have a weak secondary. I see this as such a win and an advantage for the Steelers at home. It's so hard to bet against them.
Yep, absolutely. Moving on, another AFC North team, the Cleveland Browns, heading out to New England to take on the Patriots. Now, Browns don't have OBJ. Last week they beat the Bengals, and we're looking at the AFC North as one of the tightest divisions. You have the Ravens sitting at 6-2, playing this Thursday night against the Dolphins. Most likely going to go up to 7-2, but you never know. You got the Steelers at 5-3, the Browns at 5-4, and the Bengals at 5-4. This is going to be an intense division. This is going to be such an intense game for the Browns. They have to win this.
And Bill Belichick is just not the guy that you want to be staring across on the sideline with the Patriots on a hot streak right now. And you're the Browns saying, "Oh, we just beat a division opponent. We're trying to make this playoff run. We just made a big move. We don't want to hear the OBJ noise. We want to be our own team right now."
Yep.
But oh man, yeah, this Patriots defense has been an absolute bomb this year. I mean, they're just they have just impressed me on a lot of levels, but Cleveland's defense as well. I think they're going to give Mac Jones a very, very tough time. The one interesting thing here is that Damian Harris and Nick Chubb, both star running backs for both these teams, may not be playing this week. Nick Chubb is awaiting the COVID protocol, but it could be another big Dearness Johnson week, could be a big Ramondre Stevenson week. We got some young guys who are really going to be able to show out, but Baker and Mac Jones, this is going to be a good matchup for them, the first matchup of Mac Jones' career versus former number 1 pick. What are you thinking about this game?
I think this is going to be another kind of sludge fest like the like the Steelers Lions game. I think that this is, two defensive heavy teams more than anything. I mean, we did see the Browns offense light up, but that was also because Nick Chubb was running left and right and up and down all over this Bengals defense. So they were then able to do whatever they want. And that's what Kevin Stefanski's likes to do with his teams. It was evident in Minnesota. It's evident with Cleveland. We're going to run the ball down your throat nonstop, and it's going to open up our play action pass. It's going to open up all the passing lanes that we want. Absolutely. We're going to force all of your guys to play in, which allows for the over the top and the slant routes. And it works to perfection when you have your star running back. And if he's not in, changes your total dynamic. What does Bill Belichick do the best? He's the best at taking away your wide receiver 1. He's the best at taking away your best option. Yeah. It's going to be a big Dearness Johnson game for sure. You're right. Look for Stevenson for the Patriots, stuff like that. Damian Harris is in the concussion protocol still. Might be tough for him to get out last minute again. And Nick Chubb, obviously. I think if Nick Chubb is in this game, I'm going to go with the Browns because I think it allows for them to do what they want to do on offense. But if there's no Nick Chubb, I think that this offense takes a step back as a whole. Especially with no Kareem Hunt directly behind him. And yes, Dearness Johnson's been great in the absence of them. And yes, I think he'll have a good game, but it's not Nick Chubb. It's not Nick Chubb who's breaking off for these 30-yard touchdowns, 50-yard touchdowns, 70-yard touchdowns, who does this like in his sleep. And while I like what the Patriots have been able to do all season, I like Mac Jones. I think he's definitely the future of this franchise. Absolutely. It's still a tough Browns team. This is still a good Browns defense, and you can't just sleep on them just yet.
Yeah, so I feel the same way. I'm looking at it in the sense where they're at home right now, and it's looking good, but for me the Patriots they give me too much upside right now. I'm loving what they've been doing honestly at home, and like you said, if Nick Chubb, who's the 3rd highest rushing yard leader in this game, is not in, for me, it's tough. I don't think that Mac Jones is going to be as, I don't think he looks as good in games without Damian Harris this year. Same thing without Baker. But both of these teams, 5-4, both of them are in tight division races right now. And I think when you got to step up like this, I'm putting my money on Bill Belichick and the Patriots at home.
Yep, absolutely. I think you have to. Also, one of the many perks of working at home is my dog just walking all over the couch behind me. But I absolutely agree with you on that. It just seems like they do both take a step down, but like with the Browns, especially with Baker Mayfield's injury and how their season has been progressing, it's been a little bit weird for them. But I got one question before we leave.
Let's do it.
More sacks. Your guy, Matt Judon.
All right.
Or Myles Garrett.
I mean,
this game, who you got?
It's crazy right now. Myles Garrett leading the league in sacks with 12. Man, the Patriots offensive line is a little bit weaker. So I would go with Myles Garrett, but I think that Matt Judon, if there's no Nick Chubb in that backfield, I think it's going to be like Myles Garrett goes against at least, 2 to 3 sacks this weekend, makes the rookie uncomfortable. We've seen him put the people in the graveyard before. So I don't want to bet against Myles Garrett. I'm already scared.
Yeah, I love it. I absolutely agree. It's definitely Myles Garrett. This Patriots offensive line has not been the best, but
my love for Matt Judon though will not be outweighed by the fear I have for Myles Garrett. If that makes sense.
No, absolutely. By the way, for all those who don't know, Jack has loved Matt Judon since his Baltimore Ravens day, pretty much since day one. So
look at him now. Look at him now.
Yeah, he's growing before our very eyes. I love it. All right, well, that is all the time that we have. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Yeah, enjoy it. This is a great slate of games. Sunday, week 10. Just check us out, justsayingfootball.com, Just Saying Football on YouTube for all our videos, and Just Saying No GWJS on Instagram for all of our video and article updates. Thank you guys so much for watching.
Thank you. Enjoy.